Hello traders, welcome back for another live session on doing technical analysis during the London Open. We are in such a precarious time at the moment because we are seeing all the technicals are pointing toward very clear signs of trends, but it doesn't seem to be going that way. And I think this is largely being pushed due to the fundamentals and speculation based on the US economy, as well as that conflict, the potential peace deal becoming very flimsy. And so a lot of people seem to be rather scared within the market. And so what's really frustrating, so what I'll show you on what I have analyzed, we can see that on the daily, so this is the daily time frame on the GBP US dollar, we can see that a very large unverified potential daily demand zone had been formed. And we can confirm this because price pushed up, it pushed up here where this potential liquidity reaction box is. And we can see that it broke that market structure, pushing itself up, and this would become our unverified daily demand. And so using supply and demand strategies, when the price retraces back into the zone, it will have a reaction. And we can see that a reaction has had occurred on the daily frame, because you can see this beautiful price action candle, and the day closed outside of that daily demand. It pushed it back up, right? And so using that logic, we should be looking for long positions, and we should be potentially entering into the upside. In addition, to kind of add extra confirmation to this, is that we are producing higher lows and we are producing higher highs, and we are trading above the 200 EMA. So everything is pointing toward entering into longs. But when we look over here and we can see that the price had come up again, it is playing very nicely into our technicals. We can see that the price liquidity was taken over here, price pushed itself down, it came back up, it failed to break a structure, but failed to break and create a new high. However, we can still that's why this failed, this validated demand zone failed. We can see that it came up, it came back down, it did re-enter into that zone, but ultimately it didn't break market structure. Ultimately, it didn't break into market structure. It had to come back down, go up, and now it's just falling into that daily demand. And now we're starting to see a really nice reaction happening within that daily demand. But it's not moving as aggressively as I thought it would back into the upside. Because on the lower time frames, we can just see this huge amount of struggle happening, and we're not breaking upward, which can be very, very frustrating. So the way I'm looking at this is I would love to enter into a long position. I can see that the price does want to push itself up, but on the lower time frames, it's barely even above the 200 EMA, right? I'm on the hourly time frame, and now we're trading below the 200 EMA. And this might be signaling a potential reversal or a continuation into the downside toward these previous demand zones down here. I mean, gosh, if it came all the way down here, that would be an entire change of character. So that's what I'm a little bit nervous about. That's what I'm a little bit nervous about with trading the GBP and USD at the moment. We can see the London session has just started, which is good. Let's head over to the DXY, because this is something that I've been really looking at as well. Again, we have identified it has not respected these previous two supply zones. It has gone straight through them. It had grabbed liquidity that was resting above these highs. So let me just draw that out so you can see it a little bit more clearly. It has grabbed liquidity that was resting above these highs up here. And then we saw an original reaction. The price is now coming back for that retest. Just a minute. So the price is coming back for that retest and is now looking like it may finally begin to fall, which is good. So I'm actually monitoring this very, very closely. It's just I don't like that momentum that it has to push. I just don't like that momentum at this point in time. Anyway, if you drop down into the 15-minute lead time frame, what you could start to look at is what is happening within inside this box. We can see that the price had come down, it had broken market structure, and so that could signal to us that the market is shifting back into the downside, and that is now reacting correctly to this unverified supply zone. And if you were somebody who was waiting for that confirmation, we can actually see that trickle back into this box. And so based on that assumption, maybe you want to wait for this to be broken with a full body candle. That is potentially how I would play it. I don't see why an entry point from here, as in a stop loss above this area, is not an invalid entry. What I'm getting at is that I would be looking at a shorting position with this, looking at a 1 to 2.5 risk to reward ratio. Where could we potentially look at? Let's see. Let me just lock that in for a minute. Yeah, we can see that the price, if it retraces into the downside, we'll likely be looking at price coming down to about there, right? That's if this supply zone gets respected on the DXY. And hopefully then that would push all of our major pairs upward, right? And so then that would then play into our technicals. But like I said, the market for some reason has a odd emotion at this point in time. All technicals seem to be going out of the window, which is really frustrating. If this supply zone doesn't hold up, so it wouldn't then have disrespected these three supply zones, then what we might see end up happening is it coming up to this point here. It might come up to this point here. And then I would start to look on the lower frames if there is a potential shorting position in those lower time frames. That would be how I would play it. So I wouldn't be upset. As in, I wouldn't be upset if I got stopped out because I would see that this is a relatively credible setup on the DXY. I wouldn't be too upset. Of course, it's always annoying when you lose money, but I see that as a credible setup at this point in time because we can see liquidity was taken, it's come up, it's coming up for a retest, it's now re-entered that box that originally on the lower 15-minute frame showed price moving down, full body market breaks a structure into the downside. This is relatively promising to me, right? Let's head over to the Euro US dollar. So we should be looking for long positions on there. I think last week I did a market breakdown, and I suggested if the price would bounce, bounce from the 200 EMA, or it would return, it will retrace back into the upside, which we have somewhat seen happen. This is not a trade I've entered at all. This is just a representation. And if the price came back up here, I would then look at entering into that position. So I'd be a little bit precarious here. The price may be looking to come down to roughly this area here. Maybe we'll see a retracement down to this area. If that was true, if it doesn't respect that area, this will probably be the second area that it would respect. Hopefully respect. So yeah, I'm generally on the daily. I'm certainly looking, because we're very bullish at the moment. I'm certainly looking for long positions, but all these technicals seem to be pointing to me that the price wants to retrace back into the downside. I think what we're beginning to see is a potential reversal into the downside on the Euro USD and the GBP USD, which is really, like I said, a frustrating time at the moment. So yeah, it is quite clear that we are currently trending up, but on the lower time frames, we seem to be struggling and pushing down. So in fact, if I was in that position, I would likely keep that open for the time being, and I would bring my stop to break even down to about here, and then I would just leave that and see it how that plays out over the next few days. Let's over to USD JPY. Okay, so again, a very similar. These are from the market, the daily market breakdowns. Just a moment. Just remove some of these, some from some previous trades there. What we can see is price aggressively push itself down. I'm on the 4-hour frame at the moment, and then we can just see liquidity being taken, price coming back up, pushing itself down again, grabbing this liquidity, and then we're seeing a trickle back into a potential supply zone. And we know it's a supply zone because we've got some beautiful breaks of structures here. And what I would, again, very similar to the DXY setup, I would not be too upset if I entered into a trade such as this. Right, I'll maybe put it up to there, and I would be focused on maybe a 1 to 2.5 risk to reward ratio. Maybe we'll see the price come down. I don't know if it will break. I think there'll be a lot of struggle along the way on its way down, but I wouldn't be upset if I got stopped out of this. I would see that as a pretty nice potential setup as well. That push back down. Okay, let's head over to BTC USDT. We can see that it had been trending upward over the last few days, which is really good news. Because the higher BTC goes, the lower the DXY goes, and that means the higher our major currency pairs go. So they can actually act as pretty nice indicators to us, or confirmations where price could potentially be going. So, I mean, these are some very old trades, but if you had taken them, congratulations, well done. You would have gone and TP'd. Yeah, originally I saw this as being this kind of barrier, this area of resistance here that would be very hard for BTC to break. What if it does break this barrier? Full body candlestick break above the $82,000 level, and then we're likely going to 90,000. I have very little doubt that we don't go to 90,000. Anyway. What we can see here is, again, beautiful breaks of structure. Let's just put these out there. Mark them out as well. So breaks of structure, beautiful. Oh. Breaks of structure here into the upside, pushing up quite aggressively. We can see that before that break of structure occurred, we could potentially take these areas here. So it'll be this one, and this would be our potential demand zone, which was respected. Very, very good. So this would be a verified demand zone. And let me lock that in. And so then we saw the market push itself up even more, and if we drop down to the lower frames, then we can see some very nice, comes back down and creates another break of structure. Let's see. These are harder candles to look at, aren't they? Too much movement happening here. Creating another demand zone here. And now we're currently in that demand zone. So like what I would be looking at, because I potentially want to be looking for long positions, I would wait for the price to potentially retrace into this area, and then I would look for the long position. Oh, let's drop down to 15 minute. Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, we might be in luck. Perhaps during this session, we might see the price drop into that zone, and then I would be looking at a potential setup from that zone. Um, let's head over to gold USD. Oh my goodness, it's just been very up and down. Let's just drop out to the 4 hourly frame. We can see that I think this zone was from the hourly time frame, but I was waiting for the price to come in. It seems to have overshot, so I'll have to look into those lower time frames. I mean, if you're a fair value gap trader, then congrats. Look at that, beautiful, beautiful setup in the fair value gap there. Um, and then it clearly pushed itself up. It grabbed liquidity from up here. So let's draw this all out. Let's make our charts a little more clear. Let's call this liquidity taken, and I'll lock that in. And then we've got a very beautiful break of structure down here. Very nice. I'm on the 4 hour frame, by the way. So break of structure there. And what we're currently, it seems like we're in a bit of a consolidation at the moment, aren't we? I don't really see much of a potential setup happening here. You know, if I was to take that's a huge zone to look at. But if I was to look at shorting, I would be waiting for this. I think that would be a pretty interesting signal that the price had already reacted to this area here and now just wants to come back down, and then I'll have to drop down. Let me drop down to the hourly frames. Let's see if we can find something here. Yeah, I think that's where it's looking to end up. So this is where the price is now. I think it's looking to end up around about here. And I think then there will be a little pushback and then come down even further. So I'll be looking for shorting opportunities on this today. That would be my potential setup. So let's imagine you do something like this. You go for a, I don't know, 1 to 1.5, 1 to 1.6. It's pretty modest. Bring it that because I mean, if that gets broken, then you know, we just got to change the setup. Then we lock that in and see what happens. Lock that in and see what happens. Just drop down to the 50-minute there. Trading just for trading. My goodness. Lock that in, right? Yes. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened. Yeah, come back down. I think that would be a relatively good setup. And also, you know, if gold is going down, that would be kind of concerning because then that usually pushes the DXY up. If the DXY gets pushed up, then all of our currencies get pairs go down. Very frustrating. We can head back to the DXY. All right. Well, this is good. We're starting to see a really nice reaction, but this is only on the 15-minute frame. Seeing that doji candle being created. Dojis are what doji candles are usually reversal candles. They show potential signs of reversal. So that's pretty good to see, but we need to see some real strength pushing much further down. Yeah, we can't let this get broken. If this gets broken, oh goodness, that's going to be very frustrating. So anyone who rode this price up, well done. Well done. But I feel like quite a lot of it was speculative. Like we can also, like, just looking at the technicals, right? Because I usually draw all these things out and then I leave them on the charts so that we can kind of refer back to them at a later date. You can just see a beautiful 1, 2, 3 touch entries into this potential demand zone, which is obviously now a verified demand zone. Just put this here. Verified. A verified demand zone. We can see that the price came down, pushed itself up. It failed to break that market structure, which, by the way, this coming back up, this was supposed to be that turning point for it to break, like really just break through. That was the setup for, continue going down, but it didn't. Very frustrating. But you can see it came down again and re-entered that verified demand zone. We got a really nice full body candle break into the upside. We saw it push up. I'm assuming on the lower frames, it came back for that retest, and now this is where we are today. And of course, if any of you had entered into those positions into the upside, well done. But you can just kind of see how that strategy plays out, right? Supply and demand zone trading plays out. So this is not what we want to see. We do not want to see the DXY just pushing up. I think the economic data came out yesterday. Let me start anew. Let me just go back in time. Hold on. I'm just going back to see what was announced yesterday. Select bar. I must be back here, surely. Right, yeah. What are we looking at? Inflation rate year over year, actual 3.8%. Remember, guys, higher inflation means that the possibility of an increase in interest rates going up will signal that the currency pair will strengthen. So that's rather frustrating. We got the core inflation rate year over year, 0.1% higher than forecasted. That should have, had an effect on the DXY. Inflation month over month. This is good. So this is quite interesting. It was forecast to be 0.6 and it was actually 0.6. So that's pretty good because that's lower inflation. But we are seeing a higher inflationary rate year over year, but not by much. Core inflation rate as well, not by much. These are not shocking numbers. These are not shocking numbers. So leave this. So economic-wise, this should not have pushed up so aggressively. I would assume now it's going up because people believe, or there's a lot of media and news out there about the peace deal being incredibly flimsy. So very frustrating that this is pushing up. All technicals and even partially fundamentals are suggesting this should be going down. So very, very frustrating market at the moment. Right, heading over to GBP USD on the hour frame, we can see that we are pushing down at the moment. So this is not good, really not good sign. Very frustrating day trading, very frustrating trading day today. If you are looking for shorting positions on GBP USD and you are entering into those positions, you're certainly doing a much better job than I am because I am looking for longs. I guess the trend is not my friend. Yeah. How very frustrating. Let me just zoom back out to the 4-hour frame. I mean, based on Fibonacci sequences, this really broke through too much. But annoyingly, we can see that liquidity was very nicely taken here, although it was internal liquidity. Very nicely taken here. And we should have seen this shoot back up, but it's not doing that at all. Why are technicals failing? We also see a really nice bounce off the 200 EMA on the 4-hourly time frame. So this is something that I'll be looking at, right? Be looking at something like this. One to two targeting these previous highs here. That is the trade I'll be looking at, right? Or at least that's what I expect the market to do. Very frustrating. Really clean break of structure here. Yeah, we could be seeing price retrace to this low here. Unverified demand zone. And this is the 4 hourly. The 4 hourly demand zone. Maybe we'll see the price have a reaction here instead. That would create a triple touch point basis there as well. Let's take a look. Where are we at the moment? Go over to here. Oh, not too bad. Yeah. We'll just drop in a little bit lower, and in the long we have 5105. Oh. Something like this. Oh, there is 1 to 2.5. 5356. I'm just marking out a setup. Okay. Hopefully this plays out then. Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't break below this level. That might be very frustrating. Yeah, I'm just looking at potential long positions. As I said, I am looking at longs. I know short term the trend is just on its way down, just massively pushing itself into the downside. Just all these breaks of structures all the way down, but then we see an initial reaction and it continues coming down. An initial reaction keeps coming down. So, we are looking closer. It is looking a little bit more closer at a potential reversal about to happen. That's just what I'm waiting for. I mean, we could see it come down here to the yearly open before pushing up again. So if you get stopped out, just wait. And then, okay, we'll look here for the next entry into the long. And then hopefully we can just ride that incredibly high up and just profit substantially from it. What's the community saying on TradingView? Oh, just a load of random noise. All right, let's head back to the Euro USD. How's that coming along? Why is this? Oh, that's frustrating. There we go. As I mentioned just now, stop, break even on this one. Could see the price come down. I mean, I wouldn't be so shocked about bringing my TP to here. I'll be quite scared of that potential reversal occurring. I don't know if it would come all the way down into this tap in demand zone. This is something that I would be relatively quite afraid of for this. But yeah, I'm just generally let me just lock that in. Yeah, because it's come down. I'm on the hourly, and you can just see that this is a beautiful area, a really nice area for price to react with. So I wouldn't be entering. What I'll be looking at is if this breaks through, then we know these levels are where we want to wait for or look for or even trade into those downside into the downside. But if there is a reaction and it does push itself up, let's drop down to 50 minutely. Oh, look at that. Really nice full body breaker structure. It looks like it's going to continue downward. What I would then wait for on the 15 is for it to come back up. I'm sure there'll be a retracement and then follow it down. Enter and follow it down into this area here. And so if I was going to re-enter at a short, I'd be looking at something like this. Whew, 1 to 5. Yeah, you could just do 1 to 3 then. That's what I'll be looking at. If it re-enters or it pushes itself back up into that area. USD JPY, yeah, this is what I am looking at. Like I said, I wouldn't be so upset if I was stopped out here. I think this was a really nice potential setup. Should scroll out a little bit here. We can quite clearly see a really slow, nice treacle back to where that impulsive move pushed down. Surprisingly, not a lot of volume in that as well. Interestingly, and then bouncing off of the 200 EMA into the downside. So I wouldn't be totally upset with that. If that fails, then okay, we're gonna be looking. I think we found something on the hourly on this one, didn't we? No, there was nothing on the hourly, just sheer push all the way down. We could see instead and then just see the climb back up to this region here before looking for a shorting position, another shorting position. Gosh, look at that. 30th of April. That was 2 weeks ago. We just saw all of this. Did something come out? Just take a quick look. Ah, yes. There was some economic data that came out. But it wasn't that data, it was this data. GDP growth rate quarter over quarter, the forecast was 2.3, so it was 0.3 percentage points lower. Personal income, personal spending, I don't see anything too substantial here for it to fall off a cliff. Well, somebody knew something. Right. So there was a substantial amount of volume pushing this down even before the economic news came out. So maybe let's take a look around, what was that? Around April 30th. Major news came out on April 30th. Forex. April 30th, suspected yen intervention. Japanese Ministry of Finance is suspected of launching a massive intervention, buying yen and selling dollars. Oh, okay. Wow. This caused a surge in the yen of approximately 500 pips. Ooh, okay. Is that the Iran war? Yeah. Yeah, this sounds like more of a Japanese thing. What happened 30th of April, 9 a.m. Let's go to oil. Things started to move as well on oil, huh? So that started to push down quite aggressively. And what happened to GBP? That's what I hope the price does now. That clearly surged quite aggressively. And it wasn't driven by economic data or news. So let's have a look at BTC. What happened on BTC? Nothing happened on BTC. Okay, that's good. XAU gold. What happened to gold? It just pushed itself up quite aggressively. And DXY must have dropped, obviously. Yeah, dropping off a cliff, falling off a cliff over there. Right. By the way, fantastic representation of correlation between gold and the US dollar. So you can see that gold pushed up quite aggressively and DXY pushed down. So you can see that correlation between the two. Heading back to the USD JPY, that drop is so substantial that it's clearly driven by the yen intervention. They're suspecting the yen intervention and the Iran war risk. Yeah, month-end dollar selling. A month-end dollar sale session was noted, causing a sharp reversal in assets. Bank of England decision that would not have caused that much of a collapse on this currency pair. Interesting. So that all seems to have come from the yen itself, that intervention. So I just wanted to check on that news as to, what drove that down. Seems like it didn't really work, did it? Because if you're going to sell the US dollar and buy yen, you should then be increasing the value of the yen by doing so, which is why we see these huge spikes pushing down quite aggressively. But clearly it didn't work, and maybe the US dollar is now trying to bring itself back up to pre-yen buying times. But for today's session, I truly hope it falls. Buy back more then. So back to the euro dollar. Yep, still falling. That's very nice. GBP USD. We're starting to see some nice candles, some nice orange candles. By the way, my orange candles mean green candles. Orange is up, white is down. So just in case you were wondering. Nice little break of structure on the hour, but too much sell-off here. Way too much sell-off pressure. Way too much volume as well. PPI month over month. Price per index, is that what that stands for? Can't remember. Yeah, that looks a little bit better, doesn't it? So hopefully what we'll see is a huge reaction to this unverified daily demand zone. And that reaction hopefully will push the price back up to these monthly, weekly opens. And if that happens, we might see it just reach up a little bit more, grab that potential liquidity before pushing itself back into the downside. That is the play for GBP USD. Can I head over to BTC because we are waiting. We are waiting for BTC to move back into this zone before entering into a long position on BTC. So I'm not too concerned about that at the moment. XAU, yeah. We can see it coming down. It's nice. Hopefully it doesn't, because, you know, I want the DXY to go down, not gold. And if DXY goes down, gold often does the opposite. Oh, we're seeing a sharp push on the British pound into the downside. Oh, entering and trying to get these long positions, I've been having the worst of luck with it, I'll be honest. I think I've had about 8, 9, 10 losing trades in a row. It happens. It's where psychologically you need to be relatively quite strong, and it looks like I am going to be in another losing trade. Hmm. DXY really pushing itself up again. My goodness. Oh, and it's just broken structure as well. This is really just insane. Look at that structural break into the upside. You can't be more wrong. So it seems like it is trying to invalidate. This is what I mean by technicals are just all breaking down. It broke down here, this supply zone. It broke this supply zone. It's now breaking this supply zone. I guess supply and demand trading certainly is failing me today. Absolutely failing me. Look at that. All speculative pushing up. Is there any news on the Iran peace deal? Well, today's analysis is really bad, but we live and let learn. Quite honestly, it's just ridiculous. This can be very frustrating. Hmm. Luckily, we're seeing the GBP USD show some resilience, fighting back against this big push from the DXY. So we are likely going to see the DXY come down just a little bit. Um, Come back down, DXY. Mm. So I'm just reading about the latest news happening, because it seems as though these prices are just driven by the Iranian conflict. There doesn't seem to be any other logic behind this, which is really annoying. So it's just a waiting game. Just need to wait for all of that to become to become clearer. If there's a ceasefire, not a ceasefire, a peace plan, then there we go. We should be able to return back to technicals as they once were. But if it's just hanging by a thread and being strung along through the news, then we're just going to see days like this all the time. Very little logic. Right now, logically, this should be a key little liquidity area. We should just be seeing reversals. We should be seeing reversals from these areas. What's coming out later? The PPI. GDP from the UK is coming out later today, later this week. It seems that it's forecasted to be quite strong, which is good. For the quarter over quarter, I think that's preliminary data. Month over month doesn't look very good though, minus 0.02, and year over year is also forecasted to not be that great either, 0.2% lower than what it was previously. But if we get a very nice surprise, then fantastic. We should see the GBP be a little bit more resilient against the US dollar. If a retracement is to take place, let's see where we might end up. Yeah, based on the Fibonacci, we would likely be looking around this area for the price to come to. That would be rather ideal for anyone using the Fibonacci retracement levels on their trades for today and this week. We should see that retracement come back to here. And if we're still in, all these indications are pointing toward a change of character into the downside, then you'd want to be looking for those potential shorting opportunities. Where's this? Why can't we have this today? This beautiful structure pushing up aggressively. That would be wonderful. Just remove that. Drop back to the 15-minutely because the new 15-minutely candle has just been formed. And hopefully we're going to see this come back up. What we might see happening is price retrace to here and then break down. That could be a possibility as well. A frustrating possibility indeed. Just drop to the 5-minute frame. Yeah, this is the first minute, so 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5. Okay, so this volume makes sense for the time being. If we can see the volume push aggressively up, that would be fantastic. So look at the euro dollar. Oh, nice. It's just falling. Beautiful. Well, of course, that makes sense because GBP is also falling. So we could actually TP here. That would be quite nice. Could TP here. I'm on the 5-minute frame, aren't I? Could actually TP from this trade if you were within that trade. But yeah, well, kind of I was hoping it would actually come back up here and then I could re-enter, but that's okay. USD JPY, or I am assuming the DXY is going to stop me out as well. Let's just drop back to the DXY. How are we looking here? Okay, so we got a nice red candle, but we are seeing quite a lot of momentum pushing up which is very concerning for all of our other pairs, our currency pairs at the moment. Gold, how are we looking on gold? Yeah, slowly going down, which is good for this trade. So I'll just be monitoring and waiting for this to play out, and then potentially look for another long position a bit later. BTC, are we in there yet? We are not. It seems to have gone just before that zone. I'll still be waiting for this zone to be broken into before entering into a position there. Return to GBP USD. Again, it's just having quite a struggle here today. Let's see if anything is occurring in the news. Yeah, economically, there's no specific news out there that could be surprising, or at least surprising the market. Dollar near 1 week high as hot US inflation fans Fed hike bets. You sure about that? I'm fairly certain Trump wants the interest rates to go down. Gosh, if I was in a long position on the DXY these days, I'd be so happy. Oh, no. What a shame. That big price action that had taken potential liquidity resting within these areas, that should have been the reversal point, really. Yeah, that really should have been a that's a key indication of a reversal into the downside. This long wicked candle right here. How very frustrating. And then we see price break down. It did, I guess, originally come up, but it didn't continue into the downside. It didn't continue downward. How frustrating there. Oil is back up after a substantial drop. Look at that. Market open. Boom. Jump all the way back up. Gosh. So oil's back up. Gold, how are we looking at the moment? Yeah, it's on its way down, which would be nice. GBP USD still struggling there at the moment. Euro starting to see that early signs of resistance, or sorry, support, propping the price back up at the moment. So hopefully it does go back up just so that I can re-enter, but hopefully it continues down so I TP. USD to JPY, we're still seeing, we're now entering some area of resistance. As I said before, I really wouldn't be too upset if it hits that stop loss. We're seeing quite a big surge now, pushing that price up. We can see all these triple tops, and it's finally winning. I think the buyers are finally winning finally able to push through. That means the GBP is on its way down as well today. So we could just be seeing this go down. It's what a terrible day for me trading. Ah, looks like it's going to be getting stopped out today. What I'll do is I'll wrap up all the technical analysis. Frustratingly, I guess we're now trending down quite aggressively. We've got changes of characters on the GBP USD on the 4-hour time frame. This is indicating that the price is likely going to continue falling unforeseeably, maybe down to this area here. So it might come here. We might see another initial reaction, and then maybe it changes character and continues downward or in its downward trajectory. So if I'm stopped out, then I would just be waiting for the price and see what happens when the price hits here, or if there is a complete change in trend, then I would have to reevaluate and start looking for shorting opportunities. Euro dollar, yeah, we're seeing this push down, which is fantastic, and hopefully it does TP. So I would continue waiting for that shorting opportunity. Once that TPs, I would wait to see what happens when it enters into this area before then pushing itself back up, hopefully. JPY, if it goes up and it disrespects this zone, then we're likely going to see it continue trickling back up into this area, and that's when the next potential short opportunity will occur. DXY looks like it's just on a ride all the way to the top. It doesn't seem like it wants to reverse or follow any technical logic at the moment. It just wants to keep going up. I think then it might have its next little its next reaction within this area here. We could see something like that happen before continuing upward. So that would be what I would be waiting to play out. BTC USDT, again, I am waiting for it to re-enter into the zone before then looking for a long position. I think BTC is still in a very bullish momentum, so I'd be relatively okay entering into a position with that. And then gold, XAU, yeah, if the US dollar is on its way up, then I'll certainly be looking at shorting positions on gold. Like I mentioned today, this would be the potential entry, the TP, and then I would wait for price to come down here, and then I would look for a potential long that should align with DXY, where DXY will go and have that potential pullback as well. So that would be the way I would play it. So there it is, traders. Thank you very much for watching, and of course I will see you guys next Wednesday for another live streaming session. So thank you guys, and good luck trading.